الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذ قال ربك للملائكة إني جاعل في الأرض خليفة قالوا أتجعل فيها من يفسد فيها ويسفك الدماء ونحن نسبح بحمدك ونقدس لك قال إني أعلم ما لا تعلمون وعلم آدم الأسماء كلها ثم عرضهم على الملائكة فقال أنبئوني بأسماء هؤلاء إن كنتم صادقين قالوا سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. قال الله تعالى in Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah number 30, when Allah says, وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. Allah told the angels that I am putting a successor on the earth. And they said, how can you put someone there who will cause bloodshed, cause damage and bloodshed when we celebrate your praise and proclaim your holiness? But he said, I know things you do not know. So Allah is saying that He's going to this Khalifa, this is Adam alayhi salam, and the subsequent generations. The Khalifa is something that we should be familiar with. We heard it quite a bit, and maybe we think that a Khalifa is just someone who takes your money, says, Abuji said or Shaji said, and someone that you can't question and usually is above the law, as far as TMOA is concerned. But the Khalifa is the Adam alayhi salam was the first, the vicegerent, the Khalifa, and this is someone who is a representative of someone who actually is a higher authority than them. So a Khalifa, okay, might be someone who is representing. This is one definition, okay? So can be a successor. I know some people saying it means successor. Okay, yes, it can mean that. That's one way. But in this, the Khalifa that Allah is putting on the earth, this understanding is that this person, a Khalifa, is going to be someone who is not the authority, the highest authority, but they are on behalf and they are coming with a stamp of approval and the authority for the one who is actually the authority. So they have the authority that's been given to them to carry out what it is that the one in authority wants. So who is the one in authority? It's Allah. And Allah is putting a Khalifa on the earth to carry out what He wants to be carried out on the earth. Okay, so so when Allah says that, إِنِّي جَعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً, and the angel said, قَالُوا أَتَجْعَلُ فِيهَا مَنْ يُفْسِدُ فِيهَا وَيَسْفِكُ الدِّمَاءَ. You're going to put people here, you're going to put a creation here that's going to cause problems and bloodshed and fight, while we are the ones who are holy. We're celebrating your praises and we're proclaiming your holiness. Allah is saying that He knows what they don't know. How does this apply to us, and how can we understand it and use it in our lives? As I said, the Khalifa issue is one that we cannot separate someone. If someone is a Khalifa, if Adam alayhi salam is telling people when he is on the earth, put it on the earth as a Khalifa, and he's telling people to do this or that, if he's the Khalifa that Allah put there, then it is on behalf of Allah, and he is speaking for Allah. He's speaking for Allah. So the responsibility is very heavy. And when he has that authority, then if Allah has chosen him, and Allah knows best who to choose as His Khalifa, as His messengers, the ones to speak on His behalf, then of course Allah is going to take the responsibility for whatever they say and do. Allah is going to back whatever they say and do. Allah is going to co-sign and basically give them the stamp of approval. Just like an instance when Rasulullah ﷺ had cut down the date trees, the date palm trees of the Jews when they were in one of the battles, And this is like something that should never be done. Normally in war, you don't cut down trees, right? You don't do certain things,
Mhm.
but Allah had him do it. And Rasulullah cut the trees and burned some. He cut some down and he burned some. And so they were saying, how could he do it? And Allah is saying that Allah is backing him on this thing. So Allah is going to take the
Mhm.
Allah is going to take whatever the messengers do if they have the authority to do it from Allah. Allah's co-signing them, and Allah is going to take the responsibility, and Allah is going to back them up. However, we do find many people that these khalifas, okay, if we want to use the term like Allah used it here in the Quran, that the khalifa is someone that Allah sent or someone that is representing on behalf of someone who is a higher authority. So what do they say?
Mhm.
Jilani is this Mujaddid of the century. He's the Sheikh of Sheikhs and all these things, and he has khalifas that he chose himself who's going to be a khalifa, and they're representing him. So everything that they do, good and bad, you can't separate him and the actions
Mhm.
of his Khalifa, of the people that who he sent to represent him and to carry out his authority in the community. You can't separate them, just like you cannot separate the actions that the messengers do. When the messengers call you to good, that you can't separate and say, well, the messenger did that on his own. No, he's representing Allah. And this is something that
Mhm.
Allah is calling you to do. That's why it's obey Allah and obey the messenger. Because whatever
Mhm.
the messengers say, it is on behalf of Allah. So you can take it as Allah is telling you. And just like whatever the Khalifas
Mhm.
of Jilani did or were doing, you can take it as if Jilani was doing it and was sanctioning it and was approving it, and he bears the responsibility for it. Allah help us. I mean,
I mean, so I want to bring up something because I want to tie this into some deviant understandings of this concept of Khalifa, and we will actually get into this in the book that we're covering. So first, Mubarak Jalani in his lectures and discourses, he teaches that as far as a Khalifa, and a lot some of it aligns for what you just explained, and he'll say that the Khalifa represents the authority that, or the person or the body or the entity that granted them the authority, right? And so just like you said, he agrees with that when you say that if someone's appointed a Khalifa by someone else, that they represent that person, right? So like you said, if in TMOA the Khalifas or the administration or the leaders appointed by Mubarak Jalani are committing acts that people in TMOA kind of, they know it's wrong, but they don't want to associate with Mubarak Jalani, you actually have to associate directly with him, especially when he himself has never denounced it, spoke out against it, or separated himself from that. However, in he goes above and beyond that, and he says that the Khalifas also, the one that's appointed, the successors of the Khalifa, also inherits or has the same powers as the one that grants them the authority, right? So they have the same power. So, like, if I'm the king and I say this person is my Khalifa, you have my power to go into the land and collect taxes, and whatever you say, you have the same power, which works fine in a worldly sense. However, as you have mentioned, that here where someone is representing Allah and Allah gave them the authority, this is where the Sufi, goofy, metaphysical, whatever, they actually believe that once you attain the status of being a Khalifa on earth, you actually inherit some of the powers of Allah. For instance, and this is coming directly out of Mubarak Jalani's mouth, and I try to find the discourse at some point, where, like, he says, when a person becomes Khalifa, they inherit the power of kun fayakun, where they can say be and it is, right? And I want to hear like your comments on this, because to me, where we look at the most obvious Khalifa is Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam,
So yeah.
and all the tests and trials and pain and suffering that Rasulullah went through in his mission. And at no point do I ever know of a case where people just had the ability to say, be and it is.
Yeah, no, there is no there is no such thing. If you know in the Quran, many a times, even in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah talks about how Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was looking toward the sky, and he was wanting and hoping for to change the qibla from Bayt al-Maqdis to Masjid al-Haram, to Mecca. He was wanting this. He didn't just say be and it is and it happened.
Hmm.
There's plenty of other times where he wanted his uncle to become Muslim.
Yeah.
He couldn't just say be and it was.
Yeah.
There was times what والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى. That surah والضحى is about why he was sad, and Allah was encouraging him and bringing up his spirits because of some of the difficulties he was going through.
Hmm.
And so he couldn't just say be and it was and have the things that he wanted. He couldn't just say be and it was, and his wife Khadija, who was his most beloved person and his favorite person at the time and everything,
Hmm.
to just get better and stay alive and be healthy. He did not have the power. As a matter of fact, and we'll get into later, I have the ayah, but we'll get it. It is in context with something else that's mentioned,
Hmm.
that it's proven by Quran that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam
So it's
definitely didn't have any powers of be and it is. And Allah says this. So I don't know if they are saying this, then they need to bring forward their proof. And their sheikh is not a proof. It has to be from the Quran, or the words of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
And I wanted to just because if you look in and people look up this yourself, look up the tafsirs, even the tafsirs, the acceptable tafsirs that are promoted in TMOA, which would be Ibn Kathir, even Ibn Abbas, even there's some trouble with authenticity in the Ibn Abbas tafsir. But look them up. They're generally like you'll learn some things. So when you go into this tafsir of Khalifa, right? There's actually like Sharia rulings that kind of come from this, right? And it directly ties to the the current Khalifa of TMOA. Another way to understand is actually being an imam, right? And when you look into Tafsir, you can go right to Tafsir Ibn Kathir, and I'll just read so that it's not these are not my words. These are the words are Ibn Kathir, the same Tafsir that your sheikh would read directly out of, and I'll read directly out of the tafsir on this ayat. And go back to your sheikh. He has a whole Baqarah discourse lecture. Go to the section on where he talks about ayat 30 and compare his explanation, the explanation offered that is actually acceptable by Ahl Sunnah wal Jamaat. So the title of it is of the section. It says the obligation of appointing a khalifa and some related issues. Al-Qurtubi, as well as other scholars, said that this ayat 230 proves the obligation of appointing a khalifa to pass judgments on matters of dispute between people, to aid the oppressed against the oppressor, to implement the Islamic penal code, and to forbid evil. So it's an obligation to basically appoint a successor, right? It's an
Mm-hmm.
obligation. So whether you want to believe that Mubarak Jelani's that letter that Noor came up with was legit or not, obviously there's been some confusion in TMWA of who was actually appointed as the successor or leader or imam of TMWA. But for all we know right now, for everything it's pointed to, is that it's a female imam. So I'll continue. There are many other tasks that can only be fulfilled by appointing the imam, and what is necessary in performing an obligation is an obligation itself. We should state here that imama occurs by either naming a successor, as a group among Ahl Sunnah scholars said occurred by the Prophet sallallahu in the case of Abu Bakr, right, or hinting to a successor, or the current Khalifa names a certain person after him, as Abu Bakr did Umar, radiallahu an, or on whom. Or the Khalifa might leave the matter in the hands of the Muslim Consultative Council or a group of righteous men, just as Umar did. Or the people of authority could gather around a certain person to whom they give the Pledge of Allegiance, or they could select one among them to choose the candidate according to the majority of the scholars. So in our Khalifa Rashidin, are all the examples of how we can get
Hmm.
leadership in the ummah. And I want to read this one last part, just because everything we bring up is always an evidence against TMY. It doesn't matter where direction we go. And Ibn Kathir says the Khalifa must be a responsible adult Muslim male, able to perform ijtihad, independent legal judgments, bodily able, righteous, with knowledge of warfare and politics. He also must be from the tribe of the Quraysh, according to the correct view, but it is not necessary that he be from the tribe of Bani Hashim, or that he be immune from error, as the Rafida Shiites falsely claim. So I'll just repeat the first part. The Khalifa, the leader, the successor, must be a responsible, adult, Muslim, male, able to perform ijtihad. So responsible. So if you want to go to Noor, he's not a responsible adult. That's one.
Hmm.
He's not a responsible adult. So he's canceled out. Muslim male cancels out Noor. Able to perform ijtihad cancels out every single person in TMOA.
Oh
including
yeah, Allah.
including Jelani, actually.
Exactly. So
Mhm.
it's just real interesting when, like, if people, I wish people in TMOA would actually do just a little bit of self study, a little bit of research on some authentic sources, and this stuff is just blatantly obvious.
Mhm.
Blatantly obvious. So, alhamdulillah, right into the black book. And we only have really one page. It's page 8, and 9 is like a
9,
short
yeah.
page.
Hmm.
But because we want to save 10 for its own special show, because it's just got too much stuff on this. So I'll share my screen, bring up the page.
Ya Allah.
Where's it at? Where is it at? Where are you? Window. I want to share this. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we're on page 8, and the first thing I'll read. Can you guys see that? Is it sharing?
Yeah.
Okay, let me zoom in a little bit. Zoom in. I want to zoom in. Oh gosh. We'll get there. Just be patient with us, y'all. I want to slide across. Okay, here we go. Does that look a little better?
Yep.
Okay. So I don't know if you guys can read that, but I'll read it to you. So the first part is, um, he says that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the first and the perfect being from all aspects. So if anybody has a basic understanding of the 99 names of Allah, can anybody tell me who the first is? Anybody?
The first the first man, I think we know. I mean, do we?
Well,
Is there
he
any
says
dispute about this? But
the
and
first and the perfect being.
okay,
Mm.
so you know what? And I thought about this today, and I was running a little late today because as I thought about the show, I thought about how we could just tell people, uh, just based on just logic and the basics of Islam, to debunk most of the stuff in this page. But
Hmm.
still, our words may not. Well, for some, they're just not going to accept it. It doesn't
Hmm.
matter. We could be saying the sky is blue, and they will say they would disagree outright. They would disagree
Yep.
just because we said so. Um, in looking at this, okay, the first and the perfect being from all aspects, and with that, he practiced faqr and called it his pride. The last part of that sentence, okay, that's where we were. The last part of that sentence, uh, from all aspects with it, he practiced faqr and called it his pride. You're going to need to bring some proof for that, buddy. That he called anything faqr, or that he practiced, and that he called it his pride. If he brings the proof, then okay, we will, gladly accept it, and we will try to implement it based on what Rasulullah said. However,
Yep.
the beginning of that statement, Rasulullah ﷺ is the first and the perfect being from all aspects, and with that, he practiced faqr. The first and perfect being, this is not correct, because as we know, that Adam alayhi salam was the first of creation, of human beings created. Okay? Adam was the one who was created, and if I can look here, I actually found the where is it at? Now I can't find it. The hadith that I had. Oh, and this is in Sahih Bukhari. If you want to know, hadith number 3557. And this is just a simple reference, and this is what you can do, TMOA people or people on the fence or people trying to figure out. Listen, this is in Sahih Bukhari, and this is authentic from what Allah's messenger said. I have been sent as a messenger in the best of all generations of Adam's offspring since their creation. So this actually proves something else, in that the concept of the seven sultans. So Rasulullah saying he's been sent as a messenger in the best of all generations. That means that his generation, as we know, is the best. So that means this concept that these people, these seven people, can somehow reach some sort of high level, and we will see later on, they're even claiming to be higher than the prophets, and they're claiming that you can be higher than the prophets
as well. Yeah.
based on this book, which is not the Quran. It's just a random book. And so this is proof that there's no one from a subsequent generation within this ummah that can ever be better than the people who were in Rasulullah's generation. No one can beat them. Because this is the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But he is one of the creations of Adam. Listen, also, if we know, probably maybe every Friday or usually consistently, we read Surah Al-Kahf, and that's the 18th Surah, ayah number 110. What does Allah say? قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَنَا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ يُوحَى إِلَيَّ أَنَّمَا إِلَهُكُمْ إِلَهٌ وَاحِدٌ. Okay? What does he tell? Allah is telling Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to say, قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَنَا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ. So what does إِنَّمَا mean? إِنَّمَا, that word, قُل, say. إِنَّمَا in Arabic, and the Quran was sent down in Arabic. It doesn't matter what your translation says or what your sheikh says or whatever. These are the words of Allah sent down in Arabic. The word innama, the scholars of grammar will tell you, innama means that whatever comes after it, it means only that, nothing else. So what does it say? Allah is telling Rasulullah to tell the people, قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَنَا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ. I am only a man just like you. I am just like you. So this defeats and just like all of us are a production of the semen of our father impregnating our mother. I'm sorry, but that's what all of us are. Rasulullah is not exempt from that. That's what he is. He is a product of two human beings coming together, and he's a product of that. He's not anything. Well, he wasn't the first creation and was somewhere sitting waiting in the wings. There's no evidence or proof for that. Allah actually says the opposite, that he is a man just like you.
Yep.
He is of the descendants of Adam alayhi salam. So this statement, the first sentence on this page for today, that he says he is the first and best creation. The best, yeah, okay. But the first, no.
Yeah.
This is absolutely wrong. What does he say? He said there was something else. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, but yeah. So that's what I have for there.
Yeah. Yeah, and just to kind of put that into perspective, is that all the ayats in the Quran where Allah kind of like, there's multiple ayats where Allah refers to human beings and where we come from. They kind of put us into perspective, like you're not that great. right? Like we come from a blood, like a wet spouting of fluid, like that's all. That's to all human beings, including all the prophets. Rasul sallam. We're all human beings. There's nothing there. We are special because we are Allah's creation, and He created us a certain way, and gave us, our certain path that we have to follow. However, like Mubarak said, we are all human beings, and there's nothing. Again, we're gonna keep harping on this. Bring the proof that says Rasul is more than a human being, which you won't be able to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, and even the idea of saying that he's the first, I mean, just like the ayah that we read in the beginning, when Allah said that, وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً, that one, that the first one to be put on the earth, was created, was Adam alayhi salam. Allah is telling you this. وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا ثُمَّ وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا ثُمَّ عَرَضَهُمْ عَلَى الْمَلَائِكَةِ. That ayah, the next ayah after that, is talking about Adam alayhi salam. He is the one. He was the first one. And so that thing that he's first, that's debunked. We can put that to bed. And the next thing is that when he was saying that, as far as being a perfect creation, is he a perfect example? Yes. Perfection is only for Allah. Perfect, and this is something that we have to understand, that the tawheed and your aqidah has to be on point. If you have any deviations or any issues with your understanding of Allah, it could be detrimental. So when it's saying that, and the perfect being from all aspects, listen, who is perfect from all aspects?
Allah.
It's Allah. That's it. No one else is perfect from all aspects. Are they perfectly the way that Allah created them? Yes, but that perfection is for Allah. Allah created you the way perfectly how He wanted to. But are you created without any flaws or weaknesses? Or no? Rasulullah had to go to the bathroom. He had different desires to eat and be with women and different things. So he was a human being, just like, as the ayah says, just like us. But we can go further and drive this point home further. And I apologize, I didn't send some of these evidences over earlier, but I just started brainstorming like right before the show, and I was like just finding all types of stuff, just because I was like, you know what, I was thinking about how people would just say, oh, they're just talking. Okay, this is in Sahih Muslim 162. Okay, Anas bin Malik reported that Jibreel alayhi salam came to the Messenger of Allah. Y'all gonna like this. Came to the Messenger of Allah while he was playing with his playmates. He took hold of him and lay him prostrate on the ground, and tore open his breast and took out the heart from it, and then extracted a blood clot out of it and said, that was the part of Satan in you. This is a Sahih Muslim. And then he washed it with Zamzam in a golden basin, and then it was joined together and restored to its place. The boys came running to his mother and said, verily, Muhammad has been murdered. Okay, so this was an incident in the life of Rasulullah. Why do I bring this up? Because Rasulullah was a human being. And just like human beings, every human being is created with certain weaknesses, certain certain things that go on. Now, he is better than all of us, and this is one of the reasons why. I mean, even without this, he's going to be much better than us. But Allah literally had Angel Jibreel go and clean and purify his heart of what little deficiencies were there from Shaitan. So this debunks the idea that he was the first. It's already done. And the perfect being from all aspects. This is not true according to the authentic narrations. So if he's going to say this, you need to bring the proof and evidence. And you can look this up in Sahih Muslim. This is a well-known narration in the Sirah. If you studied the Sirah, the early life of Rasulullah as a child, you would already know this. But this can also be found in the books of Hadith, authentic. So that's another aspect, even in just this first sentence.
Continues on and says, and now anybody following the course and discipline of Fakhr of Muhammad shall be considered a correct person to inherit the rich heritage of Fakhr Muhammad, peace be upon him, by which he shall attain perfection, access to the holy court of the holy last messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and shall behold his almighty Allah as well. So just let me simplify that for you. He's saying anybody that follows this path will inherit the same perfection as Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, access to this holy mystical court of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and also be able to see Allah.
Mhm.
I mean,
So we,
No.
I mean, so it is by which he shall attain perfection. We already so
we've
so
how many times are we
a
gonna cover
normal
this perfection
person,
thing? Like
a normal person can attain perfection. We already showed that no one is created like in a perfect from all aspects. That's only for Allah.
Yeah.
Perfection. That the word, the phrase Subhanallah, perfect you are, glorified you. Basically, it's like free from any imperfections. We don't say Subhana, Sheikh, or we don't use Subhana for anyone else but Allah.
Yeah.
Because that's the only one who it qualifies for. There's no references to the companions of Rasulullah SAW. Those people who knew him best and lived with him and know how good he was, that they said Subhana Rasulullah or Subhana Muhammad or something like that. They didn't say it. It doesn't apply to anyone except for Allah.
So let me ask you a question. So for both of you, would you respect, or what would you think was better or higher status or whatever, someone who was given $1 million, or someone who earned $1 million?
So to the person who earned
Yeah,
it.
obviously. Yeah.
So
It actually, might depend on how they earned it,
well, halal,
and someone got to be,
respectfully, that is halal business and all
But
that.
someone who earned the money in a way that was upright, then of course the person who earned their money.
So and I'm saying that because just tying this into the narration you said about Jibreel alayhi salam, it's authentic. It's there's no one that denies this story. Came and actually cleansed Shaitan's stain on Rasulullah's heart, right? So now, if someone is coming and saying, you can follow this little path or this little program I have for you, and you're going to attain the same cleanliness of your heart that Rasulullah had, where Allah actually sent angels Jibreel to actually clean the heart for him. But there's some kind of path that you can go ahead and you can earn it yourself. Wouldn't that, like, if someone actually could technically do that, logically you would say that person would be above the person that was just done for them.
Yeah.
This is a logical contradiction. Like, come on, think about it.
Yeah. So this book is telling you that you can actually achieve something greater and better than the messengers, all of them, including Rasulullah, ever could. I mean, if we look at even from ayah number 68 in Surah Al-Qalam, all right, 68 ayah number 4, in which Allah tells Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ, that and you are truly a man of outstanding character. And when we look in the tafsir of this ayah, and this is the thing, this book is trying to tell you how you should act and think and conduct yourself and how you should be, to where you can obtain some sort of level where Rasulullah is, that they made up. But what does the Quran say about Rasulullah? You are a great man of great moral character. If we look at the tafsir of this ayah, which is tafsir Ibn Kathir, okay, and it has the hadith in which Aisha radiallahu anha, which was his wife, who knew him better than anyone that came after, okay, and she is giving you first account information. What did she say? Okay, in the tafsir it says that that Sa'id bin Hisham asked Aisha radiallahu anha about the character of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She replied, have you not read the Quran? Sa'id said, of course. Then Aisha radiallahu anha said, verily, the character of the Messenger of Allah was the Quran. Okay, so that's number one. So basically, you can use the Quran to get to the level and the character, if that's what you're trying to be like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's what you use, not this dusty book. I'm sorry, it's not comparable. It cannot give you anything that can get you anywhere near Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his character like the Quran can. His wife and the mother of the believers, radiyallahu anhuma, is giving us the information. What is it also goes on to say? That this means that he, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, would act according to the commands and the prohibitions in the Quran. His nature and character were patterned according to the Quran, and he abandoned his natural disposition, i.e., the carnal nature. So whatever the Quran commanded, he did it, and whatever it forbade, he avoided it. This is what it says. So he's telling you this book and what you got to do, and if you follow it, and literally, Allah says He is the greatest moral character, and the authentic narration is showing you exactly what He does and how He conducted Himself, and this is the level that He was at. Everything is there. It's the Quran. That's the book that you try to find this special place and reach this high level. That's the book that you use to do it, not this book. This book is telling you the opposite.
Yeah.
Well, according to him, we'll skip ahead a little bit. He says, perhaps this is for the first time in the history of such a book is being presented. Why? Ya Allah. Go to the Quran, like Mubarak just said. Go to the Quran, go to the Hadith, go to the Sunnah. And maybe perhaps it is the first time that a book like this is being presented in mankind.
Which
right?
is not good.
On the negative aspect of it. But again, this is as we go through this, you guys really have to really pay attention to the outlandish things that we know that if we said this just off the cuff without any context, if we're having a conversation, most of you listening would have a problem with what we're saying. But because you know this is coming from your beloved Sheikh or it's the foundation of your beliefs, that you're gonna but you know that this stuff is wrong. Even when we get to this next part where he says, well, real quick on this other part, we've covered this multiple times. There's and it kind of ties into this next part. He claims that the people that obtain this perfection or follow this path or whatever are granted to this holy court of the Holy Last Master. So now ask yourself, we've brought up many times, like, when have any of the Sahabas mentioned this magical court? Not one. Not one Sahaba, not Abu Bakr, not Umar, not Uthman, not Ali, not any of the Tabi'in, not any of the scholars, not any of the four great in this magical court. Not even any Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani. Nobody's mentioned this court of Rasulullah. Okay? Now, but we go back into this explanation. Now we got to expand it even further. Where is this magical court even? Because Rasulullah is allegedly the first creation. So you're saying that he did not have it? He must have had this court since he was created, right?
And also, just to piggyback off of what Jafar is saying, like, is the Prophet Muhammad judging you in the afterlife instead of like Allah? Like, is that what you like want me to believe is going on here in this holy court where like he's judged now and then Allah just like oversees like what goes on in the courts? Like, is that what we have?
This is how they explain it. So it's not like a court of judgment. It's more like a king's court. A king and his advisors and his dignitaries. That's how they mean by court. But they do say in this court is where all the worldly affairs are decided. They decide what nation is going to be on top, who's going to be the king over here, who's going to win this battle over here. Like they're just like playing
No, time out. Stop. There has been too many battles involving Muslims where the Muslims lost that battle that was pivotal for the conquest or whatever Muslims are trying to do. You mean tell me that they're just arbitrarily deciding, hey, Muslims are gonna lose this down today. Now it would have been good for you guys. Like, hey, it's the
Oh, oh,
Ottomans.
oh, yeah.
Anyway,
And don't forget, even these people who are supposedly in the court of Rasulullah managing things, they also allegedly got the power of kun fayakun.
Yeah.
So you sitting there, you in control of who, managing stuff, and you got the power of kun fayakun,
Yeah.
and you letting the Muslims get whacked.
exactly what I'm talking about. Like, huh?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, just
it's
sitting in this court, Rasul Sallam, watching his grandson get martyred.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
go ahead. It's cool. It's cool. Come on.
The thing
Yeah,
that
I mean,
get killed. Like,
I could easily just say kun fayakun, but I'm gonna hold that one. I mean,
Yeah.
was it like a was it like a one shot joint? You got one, so you just
That's what
holding
you
it
do,
or what?
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I get
I don't even
assassinated
understand.
at Fajr
Well,
and you're sitting there.
where was the part? Where was I'm trying to look and see where he said something about obtaining perfection. Yeah, okay. So by which he shall obtain perfection and access to the Holy Court.
Mhm.
Okay, so this idea of obtaining perfection, this is
Hinduism.
Yeah.
I want to say, if it's not shirk to think that you can, it is a way. See, so Shaitan does two things. He uses your momentum against you.
Mm.
If you are overly religious and you become overzealous, then he tries to push you to extremes, tries to push you past the mark. And if you're kind of on the edges, the fringes of fragments and whatever, then he tries to get you to go ahead and go leave Islam altogether, one way or the other, or through the back door or through the front. So he's gonna push you. So you thinking you can obtain some sort of perfection, and you thinking that somehow you're gonna reach some level where nothing tempts you, and you don't have no desires, you don't care about nothing. This will never happen.
Mm.
This will never happen. This is one of the things that the Christians implemented in trying to be monks and be celibate, and you have nuns or whatever.
Mhm.
And look at these people. They found these covenants all over the world that have built into the walls. What do they find?
Mm.
Babies.
Mhm.
The skulls and bones of babies.
Yep.
How? Because the nuns was getting down.
Yep.
With who? The priests.
priest.
They all got a swore vow of celibacy, thinking they're going to get closer
Till
to
today,
Allah.
we have the
Yeah.
we see the effects.
Yeah. Yeah. So the thing is, this idea of trying to obtain perfection, this is completely anti-Islam. And I have the proof for you.
Mm.
So what does Rasulullah ﷺ say? This is in Sahih Muslim, in the book of repentance. Okay? Abu Ayyub Ansari reported that Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if you were not to commit sins, Allah would have swept you out of existence and would have replaced you by another people who would have committed sins, and then would ask Allah for forgiveness, and he would have granted them forgiveness. So this is what Rasulullah is telling us. You ain't never gonna be perfect. The human being is created weak, with weaknesses and with imperfections. The beauty of being a human being and the creation of Allah is that with these imperfections and limitations, we still are striving, even though we're never going to be perfect, but we're still striving for it. And the fact that even when we mess up, we keep coming back to Allah and asking Allah alone for forgiveness. This is one of the things. Allah, what does Allah say? Innahu huwal ghafurur rahim. Indeed, He is the all-forgiving, the most merciful. This is one of the traits and the attributes of Allah. If just any Tom, Dick, or Harry, or Bakr or Zayd can pick up this book, follow what's in it, and become perfect, I mean, where does Allah's infinite mercy and His forgiveness come in? When we just have become perfect and some walking around, we don't commit sins, we don't have any issues. This is not only an unattainable goal to achieve some sort of perfection. It will never happen, and it's un-Islamic to think you're going to be perfect. You know you're going to have. It's just like if you ever played basketball, right? When you shoot a shot, you're hoping it's going to go in. But you know you're going to miss some. You know you're going to miss some shots, just like you know you're going to commit some sins. You're not trying to. you're trying to be as best you can, but you know you're going to miss some shots and you know you're going to fall sometimes. The thing is, you ask Allah for forgiveness and then you can keep going. So
Well,
Rasul is already saying, Allah said that if we were not going to commit any sins ever, Allah would have erased us and created another group who would commit sins and then ask for forgiveness.
I like what you said about and really watch watch the scam, because like imagine like when if we're playing basketball, right, and someone comes on the court and says, "Listen, I got a shooting program that you will never ever miss a shot for the rest of your life. All it costs is 19.99, 5 installments." You're gonna look at him like, "Yeah, this is what you're being sold right here.
Mhm.
This
Mhm.
person is selling you perfection." And just like Amr said, this is stuff that comes from Hinduism, Buddhism. Like, I have no desires.
Yep.
I don't need to eat. I don't need to sleep. Like, I have nothing of this world, which is to a certain extent within I don't know what the word is, but within acceptable boundaries. There is a concept of zud, of not being worldly in Islam, right? But we have the
Mhm.
hadith where Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam,
Listen.
3 men were like, "I'm never gonna sleep with my wife again. I'm never gonna eat again. I'm gonna fast every day. I'm gonna stay up all night in prayer." And he's like, and Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam heard about this, and he admonished them for trying to take this extreme, unachievable path to pleasing Allah.
Mhm.
Really put into
Mhm.
concept, this is a hustle. You're being hustled, just like Mubarak had mentioned. Like, Shaitan's the ultimate, like, you want to say jujitsu. He's gonna take your energy
Yeah.
and push you to where he wants
You go. Yeah.
you to go. So once you, okay, I can't stop him from performing good deeds. So now let me get him to show off in his good deeds. Let me get him to
Mhm.
think that he can achieve the status of a prophet. Okay, I got him there. Now let me get him to see if he believes that he can achieve the status of Allah. And this is
Yeah.
exactly the path that Mubarak Jelani took everybody on. Because look at the next section. He says, most of the incidents which occurred, he says, so basically the person will go through most of the incidents which occurred during the lifetime of the, and he gives an example. This Look at the example he gives. Mi'raj.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
that the
So
people that do this have their own Mi'raj.
Uh,
It's
yeah.
unbelievable.
So yeah. So basically, that's the scam. You see, that's the scam. Number one, he's giving you this book. Oh, you can achieve this or whatever, and then it's like, yo, telling you that basically in a pretty much roundabout but direct way, he's telling you that he's perfect.
Yes.
He's perfect.
Yep.
And that's where you get that Murshid Kamil
yep.
and how he's the the perfect a competent sheikh and all this. They're like, and they look at it like, no, he couldn't have been mistaken. He couldn't have made a mistake.
Yeah.
He's definitely not wrong. If he said it is right, he's basically telling you that he's perfect. That I mean that's basically what, because how could he write a book on this if he hasn't done it? Like, he's telling you how to
Yeah.
get where he's at.
Yeah.
Yep.
This nigga talking about, I mean, this he's talking about he's perfect.
Yeah. Exactly. And then
It just doesn't make
look
sense.
how he keeps going. He says, so a person will be able to basically have the same miracle of Mi'raj that Rasulullah was granted. Mind you, that wasn't granted to any other prophet before him, right? And then
At all.
meeting
Mhm.
all of the
Yeah.
previous messengers, and they'll be able to see paradise and events of the last day and resurrection, and they'll be able to, and to top it off, they'll be able to hear the dhikr of all the animals, plants, and stones, and whatever else. This is
Yeah. So this is part of the scam, and how you take an event that is well known, that already happened or whatever. So, like, if a person doesn't know the Sirah, right?
mhm.
And it's funny, my wife says this all the time. Like, this dude is taking stuff from the Sierra and acting like he did it, like moving the moon,
Yeah.
and in Surah Jinn, some of those events in Surah Jinn in the Tafsir and stuff. He's basically like, oh yeah, you'll be able to experience some events from the Sierra or whatever. So if I tell you, yeah, I reached this level. I mean, I actually experienced some events from the Sierra.
Mhm.
Yeah, I saw, I saw Badr, the Battle of Badr. Yeah, it was, I counted them. It was 313 Muslims, and yeah, just talking like you like, yeah, I was there.
Yeah.
No, this is in the history books. So you tell something that's so well known, and you just act like, oh yeah, I was there.
Uh-huh.
No, you weren't there. And so to take something that when somebody else like researches or looks it up or whatever, they're like, oh yeah, well that that would happen. It's like for the dunce. I don't want to say dunce because I mean people actually fell for this, but it's like if you're not if you don't see him coming, then he'll get you from where you don't see him. Basically, he's basically telling you stuff that happened in the Fitrah,
Right.
like as if I experienced this. So literally, I can tell you, yeah, I was there. I experienced the battle of the Khandaq when the Ahzab when all the Confederates they were surrounding the Medina and they were trying to attack them. Yeah, they were digging the dirt. It was like kind of like rocky, sandy dirt or whatever, and they was digging the trench. And I could be telling you stuff based on an event that did happen.
Okay.
And like so you can't say, oh no, it didn't happen like that, because no, you weren't there. And so and they know you're never gonna actually experience seeing the actual Fitrah as it took place. So you can't never say, oh well, he made it up or he's lying. He didn't make it up. The story is real. But to be able to use that and say, oh, you will be able to do this like me.
Well, it's a perfect example of what you just said, because I remember when I was doing transcribing his discourses, he tells a story about he's like, you people are so special. You guys, Allah loves you the most. You're the greatest community. Like basically love bombing TMOA, right? And as he's explaining how great and how great and how much Allah loves them, he's like, and Allah hears y'all dhikr. When y'all was doing the dhikr or the holka, there was someone who heard y'all, and he stopped just to listen, and Allah forgave all his sins. And I'm on a juice. I'm like, oh shoot, that's deep, dude got forgiven his sins just for listening to the dhikr, right? And I'm like, imagine what we get. Later on, I'm studying, reading hadiths. There's a hadith where Rasul was telling Sahabas that there was a man, I think from the time of Musa or one of the previous prophets, that was hearing the Muslims engage in the dhikr of Allah, conversating about Allah, talking about Allah, and he stopped just to listen. And just because he stopped to listen, Allah forgave all his sins. So he took that hadith and basically made it his own and applied it to the Jamaat, without saying, no, this is actually a hadith. And now when everybody hears that, they don't know the hadith. Just like you, it's exactly what you just said. Exactly what you just said.
Yeah, because it's a trick. It's the grifter, a grifter in his thing. You have to think of like this. And for the people, please, you have to understand, this is not attacking anyone or just, this is just reality. A grifter is a person who scams and takes advantage of people. Bad way. Shaitan is the person who this is not, they don't do it based on righteousness. They're not getting, so Shaitan is going to use these same tricks. So that's why every grifter uses the same type of tactics, whether they're using Islam, whether they're using fitness, whether they're using, magic, whether they're using any old type of things. The grifter is always going to do these type of things. It's like the confidence man, right? The confidence man does this. A confidence man will have some money. He might have $100,000. He knows that you have $1 million. Okay, and he wants to scam you out of it. So he's got 100 grand, and he goes up to you and he says, "Hey, yo, man, I got this big deal. I got this big, huge deal coming through, and I can't trust anybody with this money. I got a $7 million deal or whatever coming through, but I'm gonna give you this $100,000 of mine to hold because I can't trust anybody with it or whatever. I gotta, I'm trying to," and he figures out some way to tell you, basically gives you his money. That's all the money he got. He doesn't have anymore, but he's giving it all to you to where you're gonna have confidence, like, wow, this guy gave me $100,000. What are you invested in? What is this thing you invested in? Oh, you got a big deal? Oh, hold up. You're trying to convince him. Then he comes back. He's like, yeah, man, the deal didn't go through. I needed actually $1 million, but it's all right. Hey, thanks for holding that money for me. I appreciate it. Whatever. It's like, hey, how much more? You only need $900,000. You know what? I got you. I'm gonna cover that for you. Next thing you know, he got your money, and that's it. So he's just a confidence man. I mean, that's basically the same type of playbook that he's using with all these things. You got it. Once you realize it, they all use the same thing, regardless of what arena they're playing in.
Yep.
Exactly.
And for folks who believe this, was this before or after he had the speech in Compton, where all the Muhajirin, all the Ansar, all the angels,
Oh,
all the prophets were there in attendance? Was this after that or before that? Because if that happened already before, y'all don't need this book anymore because it already happened to y'all. You should be perfect right now. You should
and,
be totally fine.
and they came to Compton.
Yep, in Compton, California.
okay, the Compton.
Listen to a speech from Bargilani, all of them. So
Yeah.
you
Oh
guys should be
man.
fine if you were in attendance at that holy speech.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
where's the part where he? So then I think we might have mentioned it as far as him talking about seeing Allah.
Yeah. So
Um.
he says after you obtain perfection and you get access to the court, and then you shall behold his Almighty as well. So you shall behold Allah as well. After you obtain
Okay.
this perfection, go to the court. You know.
So
Sheesh.
as we know, we already know, no one is going to see Allah. You're not going to be, and see, they try to trick you as well. Beholding is something that, no, you're not going to be able to behold Allah. You're not going to be able to see Allah. What they're talking about is
Mhm.
seeing Allah. Okay.
Yeah.
So even if they say behold, listen. So this is surah number 7,
Hmm.
ayah number 143. Surah Araf, ayah number 143. Just look at what Allah is saying, and Allah is dismantling this book. You
Mm.
don't need, really, it's there. And we've been saying it since the beginning. If you just look at the Quran, it's there. It will give you what you need to confirm or reject whatever is being said. What does Allah
Yeah.
say in this ayah? When Musa alayhi salam came for the appointment, and his Lord spoke to him, he said, my Musa said this,
Hmm.
my Lord, this is the Quran, this is not me. Listen, my Lord, show yourself to me. Let me see you. He said, you will never see me. But look at the mountain. If it remains standing firm, you will see me. And when his Lord revealed himself to the mountain, he made it crumble. Moses fell down unconscious. Listen, Moses did not even see Allah.
Yep.
He was just there. So, so
Mhm.
you think so you could say that
Uh,
Moses beheld. Even if you say, well, it's not seeing, it's beheld, and it's something just like being in the presence. All right. Allah revealed himself to the mountain crumbled. Moses went unconscious, fell down, got knocked out.
yep.
And Musa alayhi salam was not your normal guy. He was
And
big, he was strong. He killed a man with one punch.
let's
So he
also
was
add
not,
that during this, he came with the 12 like chiefs of the Bani Israel.
yeah,
All of them died.
yeah.
Yeah.
All of them died.
So you have to understand, Moses couldn't behold Allah. He definitely, Allah already told him, you will not be able to see me. The
Mhm.
mountain crumbled and got crushed. When he recovered, he said, Subhanallah, glory be to you.
Mm.
You,
Whose
I turn in
perfection did for
repentance.
you. Yep. Hmm.
Yes, I am the first to believe. So he's
Mm.
telling you that he has a book and a methodology that's going to allow you to behold Allah. This ayah alone should let you know he's a liar. He's a charlatan. Throw the book in the trash and burn it.
Hmm.
Punch him in the face if you see him saying that, because
It's
it goes against, it's the opposite of Islam. It's the opposite of the Quran.
Yep.
It's the exact opposite. Tell me how you can reconcile this ayah. So you're saying you're better than Musa alayhi salam, and you're gonna contradict and walk over top of the word of Allah.
Hmm.
let me
How?
let me let me add to this. Let me add to this real quick. So, in Mubarak Jelani's discourse, when he's talking about the greatest miracle of all time, right, in holy in Islamberg, where they allegedly Allah wrote his personal name on the wall, right? He explains how the same essence that Musa tried to see and that destroyed the mountain and killed most of his disciples, that's the same thing that is right now at Islamberg right now on the wall.
Mm. Uh,
A'udhu
okay.
billahi minash shaitanir
Oh,
rajim.
um. So the whole thing of beholding Allah, right? Let's go a step down, right?
Hmm.
Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right, in this era was not able to, I guess, behold Angel Jibreel in his angel form, right? He fainted.
Right.
So, so Allah is above all the angels. So if the Prophet Muhammad couldn't be holding Angel Gabriel, you for sure are not be holding a law every. You're not even thinking about holding a law. You're just gonna just die. So
Yeah.
get that out your mind. Get that far out your mind.
Well, even
I
there's
mean,
a hadith when Rasul had Mi'raj,
Hmm.
a miracle unique only to him. Let's be clear about that. Only to him, not any other prophet was it granted this miracle, right? Where he went where Angel Jibreel couldn't go anymore, right? Where I believe I forget which Sahaba it was, I forget the exact wording of hadith, but you can look it up. And they asked, did you see Allah? And he said, how could I see Allah? All I seen was light. All I seen was light, and I think it goes into like talks about behind thousands of veils of light or something like that. So if Rasul Sallallahu couldn't see Allah, Moses couldn't see Allah. Allah is telling you directly in His book, "You will never see me," right? And the only time we do see Allah is Allah grants us a vision of Him. It's actually the greatest reward of paradise. The
mhm.
greatest reward of paradise. So if you're telling me there's a chance to actually get this greatest reward of paradise right here while we're alive, why are if these people have allegedly achieved this, why are they still in this world? Why would you even what purpose would you have of being here? It's the same thing like would they like why would you if like he also says you'll get to go see paradise. Why would you come back?
To Earth, yeah.
What is going on here? Like, use your common sense. Oh yeah, I got to see Allah. Yeah, I was in paradise checking it out, but I came back to decide, to use the bathroom again, get hungry, get gas. You know what I mean? Fall
Struggle.
asleep, get injured, get. I decided to do all that, just for
Get old.
kicks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, it's really child's play. But
Mhm.
you really have to look at the evidence that are being presented and how that nothing that this book says is backed up by any evidence or anything like that. And what we're saying is being backed up by actually what Allah and or His Messenger are saying.
Mhm.
How are we? There should be no dispute. I mean,
Yep.
at this point, people should just be literally just trying to figure out, okay, how do I, do the right thing? How do I make this right? How do I correct the situation? Because I mean, it's really, I mean, it's 82, it's 82 to zip right now. It's just,
Well, and then like at the bottom of the page, he mentions like you'll be able to get the divine dive into the deep ocean of wisdom and immortality as if you can achieve this is straight Buddhism, Hinduism, whatever ism you want, where like of course mankind is obsessed with trying to live forever because we're afraid to die, but Allah tells us every soul shall taste death. You're not going to achieve immortality even if you're trying to use it as some kind of poetic whatever. uh,
Nah. You can tell that
yeah.
this is pure Hinduism because of like the Jelani comes from India. So
mhm,
where does Hinduism originate? India, and the whole idea of like enlightenment and reaching a nirvana is you have infinite wisdom of the world. You are now connected to the world as
mhm,
one, and you are immortal because you're not inside of your human state anymore. You're inside of this like spiritual state, which is kind of the whole like seven sultan thing. So you can directly see the correlation
yeah,
between him being Indian and the Indian beliefs from just the Indo region, and them
mhm,
tying over into this version of Islam that Timoy practices
yeah.
because it go hand in hand.
And let's give the greatest proof against this idea of immortality. The person who wrote this book is dead.
Yes.
Straight up, he's dead. Right? If he wasn't dead, we could go full circle on this. If he wasn't dead, he wouldn't need a spiritual successor because he'd
Yep.
still be leading the community from the court of Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam,
Listen.
and all his talibs that he guided to be able to go there and visit him could just go ask him, "Hey, Sheikh, what are we doing tomorrow, Sheikh?" You wouldn't need to go
Yeah.
through Umnor, right?
Wait,
Yeah. And
do you think that Bargelline is sitting there at the holy course like, yes, fight over the money, fight over the money?
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh
Come
yeah,
on,
Allah.
use your common sense. The last thing we got, and we're gonna kind of wrap it up here, and I urge everybody to tune in to next week's show,
For page 10.
because it's this is when we cover next week's show. it really gets laughable, and we're gonna have hard time containing ourselves because this is like we're into page 10 of this book. Right now, it's utterly ridiculous for anybody that has eyes and ears. When we cover page 10, please go ahead and read it before us so you can be prepared. This is like you would think someone wrote this book as like a comedy or something like that. Like just I wanted to make up a some
Pure
kind of
fiction.
science fiction
Yep.
story. What's
Yep.
that guy for Scientology? The Ron Hubbard
Yeah.
dude. Like this is
Edwin Hubbard. Yeah.
yeah, this is
Yeah.
exactly along those lines. Um, we highlighted this part about when he talks about he says a fakir or a fakir it's a specialty because he's given definitions. He says it's a specialty of the messengers and particularly of the last messenger and his household or Ahl Bayt, where one becomes indifferent to the here and the hereafter and interests himself solely with Almighty Allah.
Mm,
I do
yeah.
not know where this concept of not being interested in this life or the next life has any basis in Islam whatsoever.
Yeah.
It has none. I have to do this. I forgot about that one point, but I'm gonna bring the evidence. Give me just 1 second. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah, so now let's just think about Rasul Sallallahu himself. Are you saying Rasul Sallallahu was not concerned about the here, this world, when he was going to war, when he was fighting for the rights of himself and his followers? If he's like, I don't care about it, we're just gonna sit here. They're gonna try to assassinate me. I'm just whatever. I'm not gonna switch places with Ali in the bed. We're
Yep.
not gonna go try to intercept the caravan that they're gonna try to sell all of our property at Badr. Right? We're not gonna dig a trench around Medina. We're not gonna do any of that. We're not gonna do any of those types of things. We're not gonna negotiate the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. I don't care anything about this world. Matter of fact, I don't even care about delivering this message because this has to do with this world. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to sit here and do nothing. And as a matter of fact, I don't even care about the hereafter. I don't care about heaven. I don't care about hell. All I care about is Allah. Even though Rasul told us
Awesome.
all the different things to achieve paradise, the Quran is full of guidance for this world and how to achieve the best ending and obtain the benefits of the next world and stay away from the harms of the next world. So if you are somebody that has deluded yourself to think that you by saying, "Oh, I don't care about this world. I don't care about Jannah. I don't care about I don't care about hell."
yeah. I mean,
You off.
it is I'm telling you, it's anti-Islamic. What does Allah say in Surah Hadid, ayah number 21? This is the beautiful thing about Quran. It doesn't matter what anyone says about anything, any topic.
Yep.
You will find the rebuttal or the support for it in the Quran. You will
Yep.
find it. It will be there. You have
Straight
to
up.
know, and sometimes it's in the tafsir, but it's there. What does Allah say in Hadith 57:21? Allah says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سابقوا إلى مغفرة من ربكم وجنة عرضها كعرض السماء والأرض أعدت للذين آمنوا بالله ورسله كفضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم. What does Allah say to do? I mean, this is beautiful. It almost brings tears to your eyes, really. Allah says, so race for your Lord's forgiveness and a garden. Allah is telling you, race for this, strive for this, compete for this, exert yourself for this. So for the person who says, and people have said this to me directly, and I'm just looking at them like, it's sad for a person to say, I don't think about, Jannah. I don't want that. I don't think about, anything in the world. No Jannah. No, I just want to be close to Allah. I just want my goal is Allah. Allah is telling you in Quran, Sabiqu, race for your Lord's forgiveness, which is and the garden that is as wide as the heaven. Allah is telling you the dimensions and the size of Jannah so that you can want it. Allah is telling you that He prepared this for you. Allah is telling you. أُعِدَّتْ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Allah is saying He prepared it for the believers. You're saying you're not a believer? You don't want Jannah? This is what the believers get. Allah is saying He prepared it specially for you who believe in Allah and His messengers.
Oh man.
So how can a person read the Quran? And this is why it's so important to understand what you're reading.
Mhm.
So many times growing up, what was it? Just a matter of doing Khatam al-Quran and and you're reading it, you don't even know what you're saying.
Yep.
If you understand this, automatically you'll debunk it. Allah is telling you to race. Allah says in Surah Mutafifin, وَفِي ذَلِكَ فَلْيَتَنَافَسِ الْمُتَنَافِسُونَ. And for that, let the competitors compete.
Mhm.
And this is in the last year of Surah Mutafifin, and we're not gonna take too much time looking at it, but these are there. Everybody should have read or heard that by now. But Allah is telling you about the type of furniture you're gonna have and the drinks that you're gonna have and the environment or whatever. And Allah is saying for you, the people who compete for that.
Mhm.
So how can you then? I mean, that's like you saying, someone cooks a nice meal for you, does something nice
Mhm.
for you, specifically for you. I don't want that. I'm better than that. You think you're better than what Allah is preparing specifically for you?
Mm.
That is nuts.
Yep.
And so for these people to, even in this book talking about, oh, you won't be worried about this, you won't want that. This is someone selling you a dream, acting as if they themselves are at this level. Whatever they can't even stop. I mean, they can't stop eating or finding, marrying women and all these types of things that they're supposed to not care anything about.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, this person, you look at their life. He never reached this level that this book is talking about,
Mhm.
just based on the fact that he's marrying teenagers.
Yep.
I'm not. You can make the argument and say, well, yeah, it's not it's permissible, okay, but based on this book, he ain't got no business doing it.
Yep.
He wrote this book in 1981. All these teenagers he married was after he sold y'all the dream of this book.
Yep.
And that's how he did it.
Yep.
Getting you to think, oh, he's not worried about this. It's for some spiritual reasons.
Mm.
Meanwhile, he's spiritually taking advantage of your money, your women, and everything else. It's a joke.
Even going like, okay, he's gone. You think your leaders achieve this? They're literally online in front of your faces battling over money, gold, cars.
They're online showing their jewelry and their vacations and all these different things, setting up, doing interviews and running businesses and doing all these type of things, vacations.
Mhm.
In this world.
How?
Yeah.
And this is the one allegedly that he made as his spiritual successor. That means that and I would say if anything is correct in TMOA is that Noor is a exact representation, a spiritual representation
Yeah.
of Jelani.
Yep. Straight up.
He is it. She is it.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. It's really a shame. Because all this evidence is very clear. You don't have to take our word for it. If you think we're kind of twisting interpretations, or we urge everyone to go do the research. Like, you will not find anybody, whether you're Salafi, Sufi, whatever, you won't find anybody that follows correct Islam to support any of this. Even the ones that are deviant will be like, yeah, he's a fraud, follow our fraudster. Like, that, no one's going to support anything that is being said in this. So this kind of like wraps up our book. We're going to end discussing a hadith, because if you've seen the new format we're trying to open up a Quran and end with hadith. And the hadith that we're going to cover today, share my screen. It's all about doubt.
Hey, actually, Jafar, let me
No, go ahead.
let me just cover these two ayahs before we go, because
which ayats are? Let me
I feel like they're very important. Okay, so it was one where was the line in the book where he talked about divert your thinking, something about diverting your thinking.
okay.
Like I just wrote that.
Let me find it.
And it's definitely towards the bottom of that page 8 or 9.
Yep, let me find it. Hold on. I know exactly
Somehow
what you're talking
you will
about.
start thinking.
It said,
And then there,
if you divert the thoughts and thinking mechanism, it's right here. I'm gonna highlight it. Of some intelligent, daring person towards his aspect which is directly concerned with the human beings. Is that the part you're talking
So
about? Go ahead.
yeah, basically, what you're saying, this book being presented with a view to diverting the thoughts and thinking mechanisms of some intelligent, daring person towards his aspect, which is directly concerned with all human beings. Okay, that's a little English bad,
Right.
but still, the thing is, um, basically, he's saying the normal thought process and the way you think or whatever. This book comes to divert you away from that towards whatever this dude is talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So this book is talking about who? Muslims. What is the thinking and thought process that Muslims should be on?
Islam.
It's Islam.
Yeah.
It's the Quran. We already
Oh
have a
man.
book. We already have a book.
Jeez.
And Allah actually said in Surah Jathiyah 45, 45th Surah, 20th ayah. And so, but if people listen, you can go back and you can find these. And you can say, oh, what did it really say that? Whatever. And then you can look at the tafsir and even be improved even more wrong. But the thing is, what does Allah say? Hada, talking about the revelation, the Quran. هذا بصير للناس وهدى ورحمة لقوم يوقنون. So this is a revelation for all of the people. It's for everybody. This is what the Quran is.
Yep.
What he literally explained about how divert your thinking and actually, to better it or whatever he was trying to say with that bad English.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is, he literally is telling you that this book is going to do what the Quran already came to do.
Mm.
Allah is saying this is for mankind so that they can be guided. It's guidance for everyone. So what is he even talking about?
You know how
And
there's
go ahead.
there's a science in Islam with verification and authentication. It's the same science that's used up today in court cases. You can call it corroboration, piling up evidence. Go back to our interview with Uncle MJ, who said that Mubarak Jelani, like, why did Mubarak Jelani want to kill MJ? He said Mubarak Jelani told him that, he said, I came with a new religion.
Yep.
And Mubarak Jelani, or MJ was like, yeah, I ain't down with that. Then he put a hit on him. So keep that in mind. I came with a new religion. Now, okay, be like, oh, there's no way he said that. There's no way he said that. Go back to earlier we covered in the book where he said, for those who are tired of this dogmatic following principles and laws and rules and regulations. Basically, for those of y'all are tired of following Islam, I got something for y'all.
Got something else for you. You tired of the mundane, just 5 salawat and just a little fasting, a little praying here and give some zakah. You tired of that? Got something else for you. And actually, in this page, he mentioned something about bringing something new before, perhaps not since all of mankind or whatever has not seen something like this.
Yep.
Yep.
So in this, and this is so
perhaps it's the first time in history of mankind that
such a
book is being presented with a view from Islam.
Yes,
basically
that's exactly what it is.
Oh,
now
man.
look at what Rasul look at what Allah says in this is 46 surah 9th verse. Okay, this is the last one I'm gonna do. We could do this all day, really. we could do this all day. But I mean, literally, sometimes you get caught up and you're like, oh man, I got one for this. And so every other sentence I was just like, I got way sidetracked today. Like for like 2 hours, I was just like literally just like looking at all this stuff. But this is the last one we'll do. But so what does Allah say? He's telling Rasulullah, Qul. And whenever Allah says Qul to Rasulullah, this is basically our position. This is our position on the matter. Okay, so when we need to basically have an understanding of something, Qul will give you exactly what you should say when that same topic comes up. He's telling Rasulullah what to say, but it's also for us. We say this. This is what we believe. This is our basically our methodology. What does Allah say? قُلْ مَا كُنْتُ بِدِعًا مِنَ الرُّسُلِ وَمَا أَدْرِي مَا يُفْعَلُ بِي وَلَا بِكُمْ إِنِ اتَّبِعُوا إِلَّا مَا يُوحَى إِلَيَّ وَمَا أَنَا إِلَّا نَذِيرٌ مُبِينٌ. What does it say? Say, I am nothing new among the messengers. Basically, I'm coming with the same thing that everybody else come with. So
Ya
he's
Allah.
talking about perhaps never in the history of mankind is this book, and Rasulullah is coming telling you it's the same thing. Everything
Ya
in this
Allah.
book is the opposite of what Allah and His Messenger say.
Mm.
So Allah is saying, say, I'm not anything new among the messengers. I'm saying the same things. I'm coming with the same message, the same understanding, the same beliefs. I'm coming with the same thing. And the Rasul also say, I don't know what will be done with me, myself, or you.
Yep.
Now, how many times people, Abuji knows what's here and there. Abuji knows you're going to go to Jinn, all these different things. Oh, he says you're going to be in Jannah. Oh, he says he's a Shaheed, all these different things.
Mm.
Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the Quran, he's telling you, Allah is telling him to say, I'm not anything new. I'm in a line of messages. I'm giving the same message. I don't know what's going to happen with me, my own self, or you. I'm
Mm.
just giving you what was revealed to me, and I'm a sincere warner to you. This man is giving you the opposite of that. He's telling me there's never in the history of
Um,
mankind there's something new. Rasul I'm saying Allah is telling him to say nothing new here. There ain't nothing new here. I mean,
wow.
do we need to? I mean, we could
Is
live.
that enough? I mean, do we need to keep going?
We,
Do we need to keep going? Like, come on,
I mean,
people.
it's this book, and it, it is at this point it should be a wake up call. Listen, I know we're smiling sometimes. We really haven't laughed that much, but come on, we can go through this whole book. It's just going to be more of the same. You ever see the first quarter of a game, and the team is up by like they score like 6 touchdowns. They run the first kickoff back, and
Yep.
Mhm.
that's what this is. There's not all of a sudden, you know, all of a sudden there's nothing later on that's going to come in this book. And all of a sudden you're going to be like, oh,
I'll tell you even worse than that. Like, so I was redshirt at University of Michigan, right? So when during practice, defense and offense in like NFL or college, the starting defense and starting offense, they don't practice against each other.
Mm-hmm.
They never see each other except like off season, right?
Mhm.
They have dummy. They call them dummy offense, dummy defense. So like all the redshirt freshmen and guys that are on the dummy offense or dummy defense. So it's literally you have the starting offense playing against the dummy defense. Not allowed to do. They're not allowed to tackle anybody. They're not allowed to hit anybody. They're not allowed to intercept the ball. They're not allowed to come even close to possibly injuring any of the starters. So literally every offensive play they run is a touchdown. Every
Round
single
seven.
one.
Yep.
Every single one. Like if you come close to like touching somebody or intercepting the ball, they'll actually take you out of the practice. Like, oh, you're wilding out,
Mhm.
right? This is literally every single page starting offense. I'm talking like Tom Brady with Randy Moss out there going against the dummy defense from freaking Deposit Lumberjack football team. Just every play is a touchdown. Every play, like pay it, you guys. Really, 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 really. Like Mbar said, we laugh, we're joking at this, and it's because we're kind of getting numb to the silliness. But in actuality, when we kind of sit down and think about this stuff, we do get angry at this because we love you guys. We grew up with y'all. Y'all are friends. Y'all are family. Our parents, our siblings, our nieces, our nephews, our cousins. We don't want y'all to be stuck with this no more. And it's not about like TMOA in or out. It's about following correct Islam.
Yep.
Follow correct Islam and stop being deviated from the truth. The truth is so simple and direct. Islam is so beautiful when you find that truth. All this stuff, it's garbage. And it's the same stuff that's been peddled in deviations of Christianity, Buddhism, Sufism, Hinduism, Taoism, whatever thing you want. It's the same stuff that all these false religions peddle. You can be divine. You could be immortal. You could be one with the universe or one with God and all these different things. There's something higher I can get you to achieve than what is in the actual books that you follow. When you have something that deviates from the main truth or the main body of the religion, that is called a cult. And this is very clearly a cult. And not only is it a cult, it's a cult that is actually, if you're believing in this stuff, very highly 99.9% chance that you are actually taking steps off the path of Islam.
I mean,
Very clear. And this ties into the hadith we're going to cover for today. and it's multiple hadiths, and I'll share, and it all has to do with doubt and how Muslims are supposed to stay away from doubt. And you can go to the 40 hadiths of Nawawi, and it's hadith 6 and hadith 7 that are very closely tied together. And we'll just give our comments on them, but you can go and you can look up explanations from the scholars to get more in detail. So Rasulullah says something. This is in Bukhari and Muslim, but you can find it in the 40 hadith Nawawi, number 6. Rasulullah said, that which is lawful is clear, and that which is unlawful is clear. And between the two of them are doubtful matters about which many people do not know. Thus, he who avoids doubtful matters clears himself in regards to his religion and his honor, but he who falls into doubtful matters eventually falls into that which is unlawful, like the shepherd who pastures around a sanctuary, all but grazing therein. Truly, every king has a sanctuary, and truly Allah's sanctuary is his prohibitions. Truly, in the body there is a morsel of flesh, which if it be whole, all the body is whole, and which if it is diseased, all the body is diseased. Truly, it is the heart. And in hadith number 11, very clearly and explicitly, Rasulullah said that leave which makes you doubt for that which does not make you doubt. Okay, it's very clear in Islam, we are to stay away from the matters that are doubtful. And in the hadith, Rasulullah says very clearly, the haram is clear, the halal is clear, right? Very clear. We're giving you clear evidence of how this stuff is not part of Islam. At the very best case, all you can say is that this stuff is doubtful. And you can't even say that. But if you are a little deluded and you're having a little trouble, like grasping onto this, and you're not believing what you're saying, the most you can say is like, yeah, well, it's doubtful. And what does Rasulullah tell you to do with doubtful matters? Stay away from them. Go to what is clear. So let's give some examples. Is going to a grave and making sajda halal or haram? It's very clear if you look at the evidence. But best case scenario, you will not find any evidence of any of Rasulullah or Allah telling you to go make sajda at graves. In fact, you'll find, but I'm just trying to give you an example. So you don't have the evidence that makes it a clear matter that you are to do this. Now it falls into the realm of being doubtful. So instead of making sajda to the grave, leave the doubt and do what is clearly permissible. So then you would go and say, okay, what did Rasulullah do when he went to the graves? Oh, he made a specific dua. So you know what? When I go to visit the graves, in accordance to the guidance of Rasulullah, I'm going to follow exactly what he did, and I'm going to memorize this dua, and that's all I'm going to do. Very simple. Leave that which is doubtful for that which is very clear. Hey, is there 7 sultans that spun off Allah's nur, off the mirror of Allah and all? Did that happen? I don't know. I have some doubts. You know what? You know what's clear? Allah's one. I'm not going to mention anything about Allah splitting up into parts. I'm only going to say Allah is one. I don't know anything about no 7 sultans. That's doubtful. I'm leaving that alone. And we can go on and on and on with all these different examples. And we don't have time to really like go in depth on this hadith. Inshallah, we'll have more content coming where we actually go in depth for hours on each one of these hadiths to break it down. But when I was reading the explanations of these hadiths and the explanations of like each part, like and how even like the whole hadith at the end of the hadith it talks about the heart and how the being involved in doubtful matters is directly tied to the heart, right? Because if there's a disease in your heart, you will engage in doubtful matters, right? Because when you're engaging in doubtful matters, what you are saying is this is what the scholar is saying. What you're saying is, I don't care if this angers Allah. I don't care. I'm gonna chance it. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. I don't care. And it's really deep, like even for our own selves, when we really think about it, like, hey, but you're really like, I'm gonna chance it.
Mm,
And every
mm,
time you, even if it is permissible, you put a seed of that in your heart where you put yourself and your own concerns over the fear of Allah and the respect that
mm,
we should have for Allah. And that's why when he gives the example of the sanctuary, because the more you delve in these doubtful areas, and it's not like you may commit sins or you will commit the sins. You will do what is clearly prohibited, right? Because just like the sheep, and to give the example, you take your sheep grazing, go out there, and a whole 2 acres away is the prohibited land. If your sheep goes and grazes in that land, they're gonna come kill the shepherd, right? So a smart person would say, you know what? It's 2 acres away. I'm not gonna come within an acre of it, right? Because there's only two ways what you could do is that you would have to watch every single sheep vigilant to try to make sure that they don't cross that boundary, right? Even though some will. So instead, you should just stay clear away from it because eventually one of those sheep is going to wander off and start
mm.
eating in the king's pasture, and you will die from it. And that's how it's directly tied to the heart. And that when you engage, and it's really deep because when we look at TMOA and all the things that the people that are trying to give dawah to TMOA, the things we complain about, like how they don't we give them the evidence and they ignore it, right? It seems like they just going around putting their fingers in their ears and going la 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 la, I don't want to listen. The explanation of hadith covers every single aspect of it, and it really is like a definition of the current state of TMOA. It's really deep, so I advise everybody to kind of look into. I don't know if Mubarak and Amr have some addition commentary on
Um,
that.
yeah, just two things really for me is that I can hear in my head like people saying, well, everything is going to be doubtful, and because I hear people say that everything is doubtful and this, but this is the thing. When it comes to Islam, all you have to do, whatever you're going to do that you hope for a reward from Allah in, whatever you're going to do that you're going to claim is part of Islam, just have evidence for it. That's it. Just have evidence for doing it or believing it. That way, you don't even have to worry about it's doubtful or not. You don't need it. You don't need it. Just be like, yo, I saw the hadith about the seven sultans. That's why I believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, there ain't no hadith about the seven sultans or an ayah or anything like that. That's why I don't believe in it, and I'm never going to. No one ever should if there's no evidence for it. So that's the one thing. Just find the evidence and follow that. That's all you got to do. There's plenty. There's so many ahadith and so many ayahs of Quran. You have more than enough to practice your Islam, believe in it, and go to Jannah to the highest levels just based on what is available to you. You don't need this
Yep.
book. Now, the last thing I will say is this. I can hear the people who, as they're listening to what Sheikh Jafar is saying, and basically like leaving the things that make you doubt for the things that don't make you doubt, and staying away from those doubtful matters. Some people are going to take that to heart, but what they're going to try to do is say, you know what, I don't believe in this book, but I'm still, a Talib of Sheikh Jelani, or I'm still part of Team Away. No, 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 no. You don't understand. This book, you can, just like you can't separate the seven sultans. Yeah, well, I don't believe in seven sultans, but I'm still in the Jamaat. How? If you don't believe in the seven sultans, you cannot claim to be a follower of Jelani. You can't claim to be a member. If you yourself have come to the conclusion, yeah, seven sultans ain't part of Islam. No, you got to leave it. Similarly, you got to denounce Jelani. You got to leave TMOA, and basically let everyone in your family, everyone know, leave this joint. This joint is not correct. You can't be pretending like, oh yeah, it's fine. You sitting right next to a person that's talking about seven sultans, and you know full well that it's bogus.
Yeah.
Similarly with this book, as we go through this book, and I can feel it. Some people are gonna be like, well, you know what? Yeah, the book is it's bogus. Yeah, that book is bogus. I can hear it in my head right now. That means Jelani is as false as this book, because it's his book.
Yeah.
He
introduced you to it. So don't play this game and saying, well, wow, they're proving that this book is not Islamic. So Sheikh Jelani and what TMOA and she's my sheikh and all. You got to leave all of that. Otherwise, you're a coward, a hypocrite. you're not true to yourself, you're not true to your religion, you're not honest and doing what's best for yourself and your family, your friends, the people you care about.
Yep.
If you come to the conclusion, which I know watching this show for sure, you have to at least be like, all right, it is, and we only on page 8.
Yep.
You have to then transition away. You got to tell people, yo, it's done. It's over. Do not try that trick of saying, I'm going to separate this book from my sheikh. I'm going to separate this book from my community. I'm going to separate this book from TMOA. TMOA is founded on this book. This is the foundation. This is the constitution of TMOA. Yep. Without it, you don't have a TMOA. There is no Sheikh Jelani. There are no Talibs. There are no Murids. There are no Seven Sultan. There's no Murshid Kamil. There's no Lahut Lamakan. There's no Quarter Rasulullah Sallallahu. There's none of that without this book. If that goes away, he goes away. Let's just admit that we were wrong. We already did it. We are here right now admitting to you we were wrong. We believed in it at one point in time. Now we don't believe it anymore, and we're telling everybody, just do the same thing. May Allah help us all.
I mean, and like, if you guys do believe in this book, because I'm sure that there's some that even after this episode where Mubarak brings you all the hadith and the verses from the Quran that disprove it entirely, you guys say, well, despite all that, I still believe in my heart of hearts that this book is, because there's people who are like, Jelani's the real deal. He's, a true, Sufi sheikh, right? Go present this book, right? Not to us, because we already know about it. Go to your local masjids, right? And go around and start quoting verses from this book and say, yeah, this is what this book says, and see what happens to you.
Yeah.
They're gonna call you a heretic.
Print copies of this book and put them in the little gas stations and try to sell them at the masjids or give them away for free. You won't do it. You will not print a copy of this book and be like, here, give it to the imam at your local mosque. We'll be like, hey, this book will give you the secrets to immortality and will it's something new and whatever the case may be. You might use just for some of your khutbahs and whatever. You won't do it. You won't give this book to nobody.
Was it the ayats last week that we talked about how they conceal what they believe? They hide what they believe.
Something like that, yeah.
What was it last week that we covered? I forget. We talked about this idea of like, if they allegedly believe it's the truth, but they conceal it.
Yeah. What wavers in their heart? We were talking about that hadith last week. Yeah, but yeah, they know they will never come to this book or just have a. I mean, hey, do what people who do all the time. They have book reading. They have a sheikh that sits down and he reads through a book and it gives you the explanation. And they do it with all these different books. Adab al-Mufrad, Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, all this. Where a sheikh will go from cover to cover of the book, read some of the book, explain it, give you some points, apply it to your life, whatever. Hey, go ahead, do it. Take your favorite qadi or whoever. Let Umnor do it. Go through the book, read through the book.
Nah,
they won't do it. They won't be caught
the
dead
biggest
quoting
sign
out of the book.
of all of this is that we've been doing this for what, 5 years now, like going through all this, right? So if you really believe what your beliefs are true, you believe these teachings are true and correct, right? If someone came and was preaching to my family, right, some falsehood, I would directly sit my family. Correct. Why aren't allegedly correctly explaining the Rasahi Ruhi? We've done videos on it. We put publications out there totally refuting it, and no answer. Now we're getting into your Sheikh Black Book, no answer. So if this was true and you guys truly believe like this is the correct path, because from the TMOA perspective, we're their enemies, right? We're misleading everybody from TMOA. Wouldn't you do something to stop that?
At least try to, yeah.
But I mean, you can't, because you know deep down that there's no defense for any of this. This is why you won't even defend it. It's just like, we're talking about going to war or whatever. This stuff is that outpost out in the middle of nowhere that has no supplies, no military force, leaving it out there, and you see our great army just not, we don't even know, we just march right over it. You're like, yeah, we can lose that one. We're good. As long as these gold bars are here, we are good.
Yep. Yeah, and it's supposed to, even in this page, it talks about how it's supposed to be for everybody or mankind or for humanity or whatever. I mean, bring the book to humanity. I mean, we're waiting. As a matter of fact, hey, listen, we'll help you present the book to humanity. We'll do a dual stream.
It would
Yep,
never.
yep. That's
Oh
what he
yeah.
said. This is which the aspect which is directly concerned with all the human beings.
Yeah, and then you're hiding it. Only 1,000 copies. Hey, don't read this book. Only got
Don't read
permission
parts of this book too. Yeah,
Bury,
you're gonna get possessed.
bury this book. Get rid of it.
and redacted
Oh
some
my
of it.
God.
And
Yeah.
redacted some of it too.
So clearly he wasn't
Oh
perfect when he
gosh.
wrote the book.
The
Uh,
last thing I forgot to mention, and we can close out after this, unless there's any questions. Type them in the chat if you have any questions. We'll be on again next week, inshallah. But the last thing I wanted to mention is somewhere, I forget where it was in one of the pages we read. It mentions how this book is accounts of people who have achieved this holy station because they've gotten to go to the holy court Rasul Sallam and behold the law, right? So
have
there
they
are
now?
these perfect human beings. Now, we know one of the people's accounts is in here, which is Uncle MJ, who will tell you straight up and down he's not a perfect human being, right? And I want you guys to actually really think about the older brothers that have their accounts in these books and look at them, look at their behaviors, look at the religiosity and everything else, and you make a decision for yourself, like, oh, that person obtained perfection. That person is on the level of Rasul Sallallahu and the other prophets. That person beheld Allah and seen paradise and seen the last day and all these different things that Mubarak Jelani claimed. And if you do that exercise with these people that you actually know, I'm pretty sure you'll come to realization like, oh yeah, this is a bunch of bullcrap, straight up. You know, I love MJ and I respect him for what he did. He did a great service to a lot by coming out and admitting mistakes and talking about the things that they went through. But I will not in my entire life ever say that he is on the level of Rasul. Never. And I will not say he's a perfect human being. You know, and I'm pretty sure he would back me up in that sentiment.
Yes.
So,
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله.
so who's closing us out?
All right, I
Nani?
got it. We got all
Alright,
the questions. No more questions.
I don't think we have any questions. We had a bunch of comments, but no questions.
Okay. All right. If that's it, then we'll close up. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Like,
wa alaikum
salam.
assalam.